should have done mine.
Oh, that was nice. The mic drop. And that's our meeting for today. Oh, there we go. Okay, so for folks who are watching at home, if you have any questions or comments, email communications@north-NCCS-K12.org. We will be monitoring that account tonight as we go through our annual budget hearing. So we have what looks like quite an ambitious agenda, but this is a summary both of our budget process as well as our capital project. And as everyone knows, we always begin our budget process with our mission. It guides all of the decisions we make, including our expenditures, to make sure that everything that we are putting into the budget supports our students' growth and development, both academically and socially and emotionally, as well as helping our district staff to continue to grow in their practice so we can ensure we're providing a high quality and relevant, equitable education for all. And we summarize that in our 3 pillars. We want to make sure that we're always delivering a program that is academically excellent, that is a program that is equitable, and that is a program that takes care of students' social, emotional well-being. Okay, so for this year, the budget process ended a little bit later, as you all know, if you were watching the news. So there has been a $1.3 billion increase in New York State in total funding. You can see that $934.5 million was an increase in foundation aid, which is the largest aid that goes to schools. An inflation factor was increased from 2.4 to 2.8. This was part of the negotiations between the governor and the legislature. The governor wanted to bring the inflation factor down to 2.4. It was raised to 2.8. That's still lower than what we were previously using, but it did restore safe, harmless provision. So for schools that you heard in the news who were losing all of their foundation aid or taking decreases because of a loss, they were at least funded to the level they had been previously. Expense-based aids are still funded at the levels according to statute, and there will now be a recommendation that there will be a review of the formula for foundation aid. The Rockefeller Institute will do that, and the governor has asked for recommendations to the foundation aid formula by December 1st, so that it can be in place before next year's budget season. And NYSERDA has been directed to create a zero-emission school bus resource center to provide guidance and instructional materials as we start to think about transitioning to zero-emission buses statewide, and to conduct a statewide charging needs assessment within 18 months, which is going to be very necessary. If every school district in the state has to electrify their fleets, we really have to make sure that we are able to provide not the school district, but the electric companies are able to provide the charging infrastructure. We are very fortunate again this year to be able to bring to our community new programs that meet those needs of students in different ways. We're offering next year a class per credit, a freshman seminar. We have the largest freshman class coming in the history of Shaker High School, over 600 students. You can imagine that is a big transition from the middle school, we were in a hall, to now the high school. That's very big. So this will be a class that the students meet every other day, and they have a home base, if you will, where they will learn not only how to deal with the academic rigors of high school, but also how to get involved, how to make friends, how to find clubs, activities, and have a person who's their advocate that they meet with and get to see all the time. We're adding a new elective course called Take a Look at Teaching. We're very excited about this course. It will be for English credit. It will help students to know about the teaching profession. We have a pipeline problem in New York State. We have 1/3 of the members of NYSET scheduled to retire eligible to retire in the next 5 years, at the same time that we have the smallest number of students in New York State in teacher preparation programs. So we really need to encourage people. It's a wonderful profession. But in addition to helping them learn about teaching, the students who are in this course at the end will be able to sit for the TA certification exam, and if they pass, they will then be certified teacher assistants. They can go out that summer, work in our summer program or other summer programs as a TA. So it has a real practical application as well. We are the only suburban council district that does not have a full-time athletic trainer, so we'll be adding athletic training. This is someone who has a specific specific certification to help our student athletes to maintain their health and well-being, to be on site at games in case there are any accidents. And this is another program that will grow in the future. Sports medicine is an incredibly big field right now. You probably know there's a million specialty gyms popping up all over the place. It is a field of interest to our students. So after the first year, once this person is on board, we would have them being able to offer an elective to our students in sports medicine to continue to expand the opportunities to our students. Speaking of which, with our arts assessment pathway, we're going to be adding some new music courses. We have plenty of kids who are in band and chorus and orchestra, but there are lots of kids who love music on the other side of it. They like music technology, they like the production of music, they like to do songwriting. So we're going to be adding an extra course for those students who like the production side as much as they like the performance side. We're going to repurpose our current supervisor of nursing to a director of health and safety. This will be an 11-month position, so they'll still supervise the nurses, but they'll be our liaison. We have a district safety consultant that has come on board this year. They would be the district liaison to that. They would provide all of our trainings. And then should we get a grant, which we believe we are about to get, we will add our Shaker Garden coordinator. We have an amazing Shaker Garden right now. The person who's been working on it works on it in addition to being a full-time science teacher. With this grant, the grant would pay for her salary for 3 years. So she can be a full-time garden coordinator, which means she can help establish gardens in all our elementary schools. She can work with our health teachers in the elementary schools to talk to kids about healthy eating, sustainable farming, and also bring in more community partnerships. So we're really excited about that. We continue to grow in size, so we'll be adding staffing this year. As you can see on the board, we are adding staffing in all of these areas. Anything where you see a point something is already a department where we already have a part-time position, so we'll be making it whole. So we're adding to E&L, world language, special education, technology, social studies, science, health and PE, music, and art. And then we'll add 2 new hall monitors as part of our safety and 1 director of health and safety, as I previously mentioned, and then our athletics trainer. This is Mrs. Howard's slide. I'm going to allow her to explain it to you because it's a fantastic slide.
So only one piece of this data has changed since our March 25th budget adoption, and that is the amount of money we're using to balance the budget from appropriated fund balance. So once the budget was enacted and those state aid numbers were modified a little bit in terms of foundation aid, we are receiving a little bit less state aid, so we need to balance the budget through using a little bit more fund balance. But as the theme of the capital project is to build for our future, Kathy was very instrumental in taking us through this process in a sustainable way, building for a sustainable future. So, you know, using approximately $800,000 to balance the budget is a sustainable approach to building this budget. So the other reason that state aid was modified a little bit is because the original budget, governor's budget, was based on a November database run for state aid, and the enacted budget is based on a February database run. So those numbers get changed a little bit as we submit new information. So those expense-based aids are strictly based on what we spent last year and project to spend next year. So there was a little bit of fluctuation there, but otherwise, those numbers remain the same. The proposed 2.5% tax levy increase, the use of the $5.7 million in the capital reserve, and then $5.2 million in additional revenues. This slide just breaks those numbers out a little bit more so that the public can see exactly what we're looking at in terms of the state aid categories. The $5.2 million of other revenues is kind of in that middle section of the chart. The $3.1 million plus the $1.5 in projected interest earnings, plus the $615,000 in pilot payments, which are listed just under the property tax levy amount. And as you can see, again, looking at appropriated fund balance, we are using far less than we did last year. So we're really districts to represent their budgets in 3 major categories: program, administration, and capital. So the newsletter that's coming out in the next day or so has a really nice whole page dedicated to all of those categories. But generally speaking, the programmatic category is your instructional portion of your budget. That should always be the largest portion of a school district's budget. So I put that in pink, administration is blue, and the capital expenses are in yellow. So I just wanted to show you that visually, what it looks like for us. And on the next slide, you'll see those costs broken out. This chart is also added to our website, so it's color-coded back to the program so that taxpayers and parents and community members can see what budget codes are coded to those specific programmatic administrative or capital components of the budget. This gives you a detailed look at proposed expenditures for next year compared to last year. So at the top of the chart, we represent what the largest part of our budget is, which is personnel, salaries, and benefits, textbooks, workbooks, and library books. And then we show you an extensive list of what most of the contractual services look like in the district. At the bottom of the chart, those are some of your capital components: debt service, what we pay on school district, our mortgage payment, if you will, on our properties, interfund transfers, so that represents the transfer to capital project, as well as planned expenses for the school buses that we plan to purchase, which includes 2 EV buses next year, equipment, and then supplies throughout the district, both instructional and non-instructional. Quick review of the property tax cap. This information has not changed since we first looked at it in early March. So the top half of the formula represents where we ended up last year. So your prior year budget is always where you begin. So we're planning for 24-25. So the current year, 23-24, actually becomes our prior year in this sense. And the top part of the formula remains unchanged. So we add to that information new data for this year. So tax-based growth factor, and then we can also grow the tax levy by 2% or CPI, whichever is less. So this year it's 2%. We reduce the allowable levy by the amount of incoming payments we have for those pilots. We do have available carryover from last year that was untaxed that we could have used, and capital exclusions, which brings us to a possible allowable levy limit of 3.61%. But after a lot of careful planning, we did decide to come to the community with a 2.5% proposed tax levy limit increase, which is well under the cap.
So we have 2 slides just to show you the history in North Colony. We talk about our 3 pillars, but certainly one of the things that we stand by is that we are a fiscally prudent district. So if you look at this slide, it goes back from 2018 to where we'll be next year. So the top line, if you look, which is the, I don't know, darker blue, I guess. If we look at the full value tax rate or the assessed value tax rate, because we know we don't have a full value assessment in this district, even if you look at the top line, which is the higher number, if you start in 2018-19, that was $26.03. Then it went to $26.50. Then it went down to $26.33. Then it went back to $26.45. So by 21-22, we still weren't as high as we were in 19-20. And so if we look, we've started from 18-19 to 24-25, we've gone up about $1.55. So we have really kept the tax rate down. And if you look, because of the assessed value in this district, our actual assessed value comes down. So fiscal prudence is something that we always stand by, and we are proud, and we want to share this with you, that when we look at our regional districts, and we look at what the full value tax rate is, because that's the one thing that's apples to apples, because not all communities assess their properties in the same way. So we have to use full value. We can never touch Saratoga Springs. Everybody knows that they have the racetrack. There's just no way we can touch Saratoga. We've never been able to. So So we are third in North Colony in terms of our full value tax rate. This does not include all of our neighboring districts because they all didn't submit the information in time for us to get to this slide. But again, that idea is really interesting to me because we also are ranked third for the amount we spend per pupil. So we're third lowest in what we spend in taxes, but third highest in what we spend in our students, which is where, as Sybil said earlier, we should be spending our money. Our tax money, we take it and we're very conservative with it, but we pour it back toward what we spend on our students here. This is our budget summary. Our budget summary is a little bit different this year because we are going to be asking the voters for the permission to take money out of our capital reserve. So as Sybil already said, in red you see that the tax levy increase is 2.5%. If we look at the current budget we're in, which is about 147 million, we're projecting to go to 154. That's a dollar difference of over $7 million for a 4.83% difference. However, that includes the over 5 million that is coming out of our capital reserve. That is money we already have, but we have to tell our community every dollar we expect to spend. If we weren't taking money out of the capital reserve and we were just having a regular budget, that's what you see below. We're actually budget to budget, excluding capital reserve, we're going from 146.9 to 148.3. We're a dollar difference of 1.4 million or 0.95%. So because we are aware that the capital project is coming, we're not going out to the tax cap, we're not doing a huge budget to budget increase. And it's really important for our community to know that with the capital reserve, you're authorizing us to spend money that we've already set aside. You're not asking for additional money. This is just another way of looking at it in summary. So excluding transfer to capital, the increase is about 0.95%. The tax levy increase is 2.5, far below the tax cap of 3.61. But the estimated tax rate increase for homeowners is 1.62%. The reason for that is this area continues to grow. So we are adding to the levy by 2.5%, but there are more houses and more businesses, so we're spreading it out across more. So although in total we're getting 2.5%, to the individual it feels like 1.62 because there are more people contributing with more homes and more businesses. So as we continue to grow, our tax rate increase always comes in lower than our overall levy. We do have to remind people about what a contingent budget means under New York State law. If the budget were to be defeated, the district can choose to put the budget back up again, exactly the same, and see if it passes. The district could modify it and put it up again, but if it goes down twice, then we have to adopt a contingent budget, which means a 0% tax cap. So we just talked about raising the levy 2.5%. That would mean we don't get to raise it the 2.5%, which actually comes out to $2,331,707. So we would have to make next year's budget with $2.3 million less. And the only way to get to lessen a budget by 2.3 million is to look at staffing, to look at programs, to look at additional use of fund balance. We can't get to 2.3 million by buying fewer pads of paper and fewer paper clips. You have to. It would have a significant impact. In addition to that, by law, the contingent budget restricts the purchase of equipment. So if anything breaks during the year and we need to replace it, we can't. We can't replace equipment for a year. We can't do any capital expenditures. So even if it were the case that we have all this money set aside and we have repairs, we can't do it. And the last thing is we can't allow any of our facilities to be used by outside organizations. So that's Girl Scouts, that's Boy Scouts, that's youth sports programs, our fields, our track, our buildings, none of that for the year can be used by outside organizations. So a contingent budget really has a significant impact on a school district. So this year, the voting will look a little bit different. The first part looks the same. The first part is, are you interested in voting yes or no on the proposed school budget of $154 million? And people will bubble in yes or no. We have 2 board seats open this year. Matt Cannon is currently running for the seat that he holds, and he is running unopposed. Penny Grinnell is retiring from the Board of Education after incredibly dedicated service, and we thank her for that. And we have 2 people who are running for that. We have Aisha Jeter, who's here in the audience with us tonight, and we have Justin John, who is running for that Board of Education seat. This is the part that might look different. So we have a proposition. The first one is for the capital project. Are people voting yes or no for the district to proceed forward with the capital project of $94 million? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then proposition 2 is, can we spend money out of that capital reserve? So this is just yes or no. The capital reserve currently has a little over $10 million in it. So we're asking to take 5.7 out, and may we use that for our capital improvements. So let's talk a little bit about the capital project. This is a significant project. The last project we had was voted on in 2017, and we'll give you a little bit of background on the capital project through this video.
Superintendent of the North Colony Central School District. I'm excited to talk to you about our capital project, which will be on the ballot on May 21st. This project will be focused on Shaker High School. In May of 2017, we concentrated primarily on the elementary schools and the middle school, because as you know, we've had a tremendous growth in enrollment in North Colony. So we created a beautiful 6th through 8th middle school, and we converted our elementary buildings to K-5. What we cut out of the project was Shaker High School, because the growth in enrollment would obviously hit there later. Shaker High School is a vibrant and wonderful place filled with incredibly curious and active students. Shaker High School opened in 1958. At that time, there were approximately 1,100 students enrolled in grades 7 through 12. Currently, Shaker High School has 2,100 students, and it is forecasted to have over 2,300 students by the end of this decade. We are teaching students here in the 21st century in a building that was largely constructed in the 1950s.
The high school is in need of a facelift, a renovation, and not just for aesthetics, but also for our capacity and our ability to really serve our students in different content areas.
There's definitely a lot of challenges with just like the space that we have right now. It's very, very outdated with a physics or a chemistry sort of class where it's more hands-on. It can really like limit what you're able to do.
Currently, I'm enrolled in AP Biology, and in the full class, we have about 30 kids, but even fitting about 20 people in here trying to do a lab has been very, very difficult.
I have been in, I think, every single art classroom we've had. The biggest issue I think we have with this space is that there's not enough room. The class gets shut down really quick because there's so many kids who want to take ceramics classes.
For all of our students, our #1 goal in North Colony is that they can find their passion, whatever it is, and we want to make sure that this building project, whether you're a scientist, an artist, a musician, a robotics student, whatever your passion is, we have the facilities here that can help you grow your skills, develop your passions, and help you to see how you can make meaningful contributions to our world.
The district leadership team has worked hard to develop a scope of work for this project that mitigates the tax impact to the community. The total cost of the project is estimated to be approximately $94.1 million, but we are in a very favorable position to receive almost 78% building aid back on the cost of the project. New York State incentivizes school districts to improve their campuses through the provision of building aid, so the taxpayers will end up spending approximately $20.6 million after building aid is applied.
The capital project vote will be scheduled on the same day as our annual school budget vote. This year it's Tuesday, May 21st. The voting is at the district office, which is 91 Fiddler's Lane. We're open from 6 a.m. for all of you who like to come before work, and we're here till 9 p.m. at night. North Colony residents who are registered voters are able to request a ballot and vote by mail this year. If you would like to request a ballot, simply scan the QR code that's on the screen or go to our North Colony website to request your ballot at any time.
What I would want to say about this capital project is there are three main reasons for doing the capital project at this time. First, it is an enrollment issue. As you've heard in the video, Shaker High School is continuing to grow, the district is continuing to grow, and we are simply out of space in the high school. It was a building that was supposed to be for 1,100 kids in 7 through 12. We've added some wings, we are far beyond the space. Second, our facilities are very dated and are not in line with modern teaching and learning. As I like to say, and I will say it one last time tonight, the science labs were constructed at least a decade before man walked on the moon. They are small, as you saw in the video, but they are also out of date. Students have to do their lab in one space, they have to do their learning in another. We should have combined spaces where students can actually learn about science and then do the investigations and practice science. And then the third reason is financially what you heard Sybil allude to in the video, and that is the fact that right now we are positioned to get 78% aid back on this project. When we did our last project in 2017, it is worth noting that at that time, we got 55% aid. So at that time, the taxpayer share and New York State share was 55-45. Now it is 78%. So now you have the state paying more than 3/4. That is because of our growth in enrollment. That is because of our own fiscal outlook and the debt we've paid off. So not only do we need it for enrollment and we need it for programmatic upgrades, but it is also a really propitious time to do this because of our state aid. I can't move anymore.
I think that's the one.
Or did he go back? Oh, he went back, okay. Thank you, Nina. There we go. Okay, so what will be covered in the project? As you heard, it's going to be devoted to Shaker High School because that was not in the last project. We're adding a 2-story J-wing addition because we need new classrooms. We're renovating our science labs as well as our general classrooms. We're renovating our kitchen in order to make more space for our cafeterias. We are renovating our bathrooms. Currently, we have bathrooms with multiple stalls, 2 single occupancy toilets that have doors on them, that don't have a stall that has opening at the top or the bottom, with sinks in a common area so that students are more supervised. We're adding a balcony space to our auditorium. You know that Shaker High School is landlocked, so think about New York City, they don't have space, so what do? They build up. So the only way we can get space is to literally raise the roof. We're gonna raise the roof, we're gonna add a balcony area, and we're gonna renovate the actual auditorium as well as the stage. An interesting thing, when Shaker High School opened, the orchestra, which now has close to 150 kids, had 11 students in the orchestra. So we need to add to the stage for the performing groups to be able to have the space to play and practice safely. We're expanding our music rehearsal spaces for the same reasons. We are renovating our art gallery and expanding it. And then we have to do infrastructure things. So we are repairing all the HVAC control systems. Also, every wing that we're in that we're making repairs, we're fixing electrical, we're fixing plumbing. So when we go in there, we're also taking care of the infrastructure in those wings. We are adding, finally, maybe a digital sign. We all love our traditional sign at Shaker High School. We'll keep the pillars, we'll keep the Shaker High School, but the part where the letters have to be put on manually will become digital. My best example is a few weekends ago when we had the ice storm during the Grease musical, and we had to cancel the Saturday night performance, and then we had to change the timing of the matinee. It would have been so great if someone from home could have programmed that sign so people would have known. So we're looking to do that. We're repairing our roof. There is significant damage to our roof from last year's storms, which we have repaired. But as we go into these wings that are building all these new spaces, we will also repair the roof. We are sitting, today was a great example of it, we are sitting in an absolute soup bowl in the high school. Lower Malloy is our second biggest field. It is constantly flooded. We are constantly scrambling to find other spaces for our students to play. Our soccer teams play there, our lacrosse teams play there. So by adding a synthetic field, it can be more usable. It's also a big enough field that at any given time, 2 teams could actually practice there at the same time, so that will increase our capacity. And we are adding LED lighting to a Walker field. We changed the field the last time, but not the lighting. Within 2 years, those LED lights pay for themselves because they are that much more efficient. So that is just a smart upgrade because we'll save significantly on our electricity. Plus, they don't bleed all over the neighborhood. They actually point down to the field. So this is the part that we want people to say, and you saw earlier tonight when you see the resolution on the ballot, and it says, you know, are you approving this capital project for $94 million? And so we really want our voters to be educated to say, yes, we have to tell you the total cost of the project. The total cost of the project is $94.1 million. But what we don't want to lose track of, but we can't put it in the proposition, is that 78% of that, or $73.5 million, is paid for by New York State. So we, as taxpayers, are paying $20.59 million on a project of $94 million. What does that mean? People wonder. So remember again, of course, that we do not assess our houses in this district at full value. It's not us, it's the town of Colony. So about $170,000 assessed value is about a home that sells for like $340,000 to $350,000. So according to the town, that is an average price. So if we look at that one, that's about $197 for the year, or your weekly tax impact for the capital project, again, because our aid ratio is so good, would be $3.79 a week. The capital reserve, the $5.7 million that we told you about, what are we gonna do with that? We're gonna do infrastructure, we're gonna do safety, and then we're gonna do some improvements. So district-wide radio replacements. If you live in this town and you drive on Route 9, you know cell service is not always dependable. So in emergencies, we need to be able to use radios, not rely on cell phones. We need to replace water heaters all over the district, so we'll pay for water heater replacements. We're doing some abatement work at Blue Creek and Loudonville. We're doing a ventilation project on the Latham Ridge Gym. We're adding sound panels to kind of dull some of the noise at the cafeterias in South Beach, Latham Ridge, and Blue Creek. All of our elementary buildings are getting gymnasium equipment renovations. We're adding some of the single occupancy bathrooms that we talked about in the capital project in this transfer to capital. One of the reasons for that is the capital project goes through a very long state ed planning process. So the approval takes quite some time. This gets approved much more quickly, so we can start working with our own team on these improvements much more quickly by the summer of 25, where we most likely can't do that through the capital project just because of the state's timeline. We're going to add, because of security, we're going to add a secure vestibule to the gym side, so when people are coming into the high school for athletic events at night, right now they have to go in the main entrance and wander through the building to find their way to the gym. So this way, nope, that's all closed off. You go in a single point of entry to the gyms, you leave a single point of entry. When we do the capital project with the auditorium, we'll add the same thing on the auditorium side. So we'll have multiple single vestibule or secure vestibules for our biggest building in the district. We have to do some elevator upgrades in the high school. We are going to refinish the gymnasium floor. This became very clear again today, we need to replace the main storm drain at the high school. And then when we put the field in, we didn't disrupt the track, but the track is at the end of its useful life. It's starting to pit a little bit, and so we will resurface the existing running track. It's time for it, and we will replace the fencing around that track. So these are all projects we would have to do, but because the voters wisely allowed us to start a reserve for this back in 2017, we now don't have to ask for additional tax money. We're using money we have in our reserve savings account, as I like to call it, to get all these renovations done. As you saw on the video, New York State this year passed vote by mail. This may be your first election where you are having the option to vote by mail. So if people would like, and we realize that people are busy, they're going here, there, and everywhere, at the end of the school day, picking up kids, coming back from work, you can vote by mail for our North Colony budget and all our propositions. You scan the QR code, you will be brought to our district's landing page. It's our district, it goes right to us. You fill in your name and address. We mail you the ballot, we mail you the envelope with postage on it, in which you return your ballot and you can pop it in any mailbox. Ballots are already going out, and if people would like to vote by mail, they need to make that request by 4 p.m. on May 14th, so that we have enough time to get the ballot out and then get it back. Absentee ballots are still possible. They were, if you were somebody who was going to be out of town or you were sick, you could request an absentee ballot, but you have to fill out a form and get approved. So if you don't want to come in person, voting by mail is the easier way to do it because you don't have to go through the extra step. And in order to vote, you have to be 18, a U.S. citizen, and a district resident for at least 30 days prior to the vote with valid ID. But if you like coming in because you like the tradition of voting in person, we will be there. It is at the Goodrich Building, also known as our district office at 91 Fiddler's Lane. It is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's a little bit late this year, it's just the way the calendar falls. So New York State, all school budgets will be voted on Tuesday, May 21st, and we will be there all day. Happy to have anybody vote in person. Questions or comments?
Excuse one thing, I think, the request for mail-in is May 13th, correct?
Ooh.
Is that
I thought it was a week before.
Monday, May 13th, I believe?
Oh, yes, you're right, because it was a week to
Not
Monday, thank you, it is May
Okay.
13th, you were right. Thank you, Ashley. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I would just like to say thank you to you and your team, because I always get very excited about these presentations and all of the good things that are going to be happening, especially when I walk into the middle school like tonight and I look how beautiful everything looks. I'm so excited that that could be happening for Shaker High School, and it is truly long overdue. I'm also excited for the programs that you bring to the students. This is truly a student-centered budget, and I thank you for that. And I really look forward to positive feedback from our community on this. So thank you both.
Thank
Your
you,
entire team.
thank you, and it
Because
is a team effort.
we know it's a team effort, and, a lot of input goes into this, and Mrs. Turner-Hassel, Mrs. Howard, your whole administrative team, your communications efforts have been outstanding as well. As Mrs. Nardillo said, this is a budget that aligns to our mission. It's a budget that supports those 3 pillars. And all you have to do is look at the expenditure budget, and you see that 70% goes to program. And we're talking about spending as much money as we possibly can on students, and so that gives us a lot to be proud of. And so, again, we do thank all of you. And I know, Ms. Fields, this is always a great effort, and an effort I think you enjoy, as Mrs. Nardillo enjoys. And I know your presentations have been excellent. We've all attended your presentations, excellent, great feedback on the part of our parents who attended those sessions. And we really appreciate your great effort on behalf of North Colony students and faculty and the families of the North Colony community. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'm proud to do the work, and in response to Mrs. Nardillo, one thing I forgot to say with the high school project being long overdue, where we're adding the second part of J-Wing. J-Wing is the newest wing in the building, which went online in 1999, which although that feels like yesterday to me, is really 25 years ago. So yes, overdue. So thank you very much for that. Any questions coming in, Ashley, online? Okay.
I'd also like to thank Mrs. Nardillo, who is our budget chair and has done stellar work for all of us take a motion to adjourn. Dr. Vino, and a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, and all in favor? All right, thank you very much, and thank you for attending tonight, and thank you for the community for listening in.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.